Qatar expects to contribute 40% of global LNG production, and China's anticipated tech sector rally sputters. You're watching the Daily Brief with Forbes. I'm Ramia Faraj. Qatar expects to sign several contracts to sell an unprecedented volume of LNG this year on soaring demand for clean energy. Qatar's Ministry of Energy says it expects to contribute about 40% of the world's new LNG production by 2029. The projection is based on Qatar's internal LNG output and a joint venture with ExxonMobil, which will contribute an additional 16 to 18 million tons per annum. Qatar plans to increase annual LNG production by 64% to 126 million tons by 2027. Multiply Group has acquired a minority stake in institutional investor EIG Breakwater Energy for $100 million. Breakwater Energy has a minority stake in Spanish energy giant Repsol's exploration and production arm. In March, EIG acquired a 25% stake in Repsol E&P through its wholly owned subsidiary Breakwater Energy for nearly $4.8 billion. The Abu Dhabi-based investment holding company says the minority stake in Repsol E&P is a good fit for its portfolio, which identifies attractive dividend-paying investments with mid to short-term horizon. UAE-based B2B ordering platform Queso has raised $10.5 million in a seed funding round that saw participation from various investors. Queso digitizes and automates procurement between restaurants and food suppliers. It aims to use its finances to boost its technology platform and achieve a gross merchandise volume of $1 billion within 12 months. Queso serves over 5,000 partners in Saudi and the UAE, including Burger King, Tim Hortons, and Chili's. Hong Kong stocks finished sharply higher today on optimism for more Chinese economic stimulus and ahead of U.S. inflation data set to be released today. The Hang Seng climbed 1.08%. The Shanghai Composite, though, dipped 0.78%, and the Shenzhen Composite shed 1.08%. The initial market reaction when China announced a $984 million fine for Ant Group for violating laws and regulations was one of relief. Analysts said it signaled the end of a multi-year regulatory crackdown on China's tech sector. But tech shares have barely rallied. Analysts say the accommodative regulatory conditions of the past, which facilitated explosive growth, have given way to increased regulation and oversight. And for these reasons, they expect moderate growth in the mid to long term. After struggling under U.S. sanctions for 4 years, Huawei plans to return to the 5G smartphone market by end year. Analysts say the Chinese tech giant may now attain 5G chips domestically with advances in its own semiconductor design tools and chip making by Chinese firm SMIC. A return to the 5G phone market would be a victory after America cut its access to chip-making tools in 2019. Analysts say Huawei could produce a 5G version of flagship models this year. LG says it's targeting $77 billion in annual sales by 2030. That would be nearly double last year's figure. The firm wants to strengthen its consumer electronics business with more subscription-based services that will generate recurring income. LG wants to become one of the world's top 10 vehicle parts suppliers by the end of the decade, doubling its revenue in that sector. The company already had an order backlog for car parts worth over $61 billion by end March. India's Vedanta has lined up new partners for its semiconductor manufacturing venture in the country. Vedanta officials made the announcement days after its joint venture partner Foxconn pulled out of the chip-making project. Foxconn withdrew from the $19.5 billion semiconductor JV with the metals to oil conglomerate earlier this week. India's Adani Enterprises has returned to the local corporate bond market for the first time since January. That's when the short seller Hindenburg Research released its scathing report that sparked a free fall in the group's securities. Adani raised about $152 million by selling 3-year bonds with an annual coupon of 10%. At a yield of 10%, the bonds were issued at a spread of nearly 300 basis points over the comparable government bond yield. Let's take a look now at today's Forbes Real-Time Billionaires ranking, which tracks the daily ups and downs of the world's wealthiest people. Our biggest winner today is LVMH's Bernard Arnault. He's up $5.3 billion with net wealth of $230 billion. Our second biggest winner is Mexican telecom tycoon Carlos Slim Hilo, up $1.7 billion with net wealth of $102.4 billion. And our third place winner is Jeff Bezos. He's up $1.6 billion with net wealth of $151.5 billion. Check out our website and our social media for all of the latest Billionaires news. I'm Ramya Faraj. This is the Daily Brief. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.